So let's begin with the online seminar on agriculture market reforms, price volatility, and risk management. I hand it over to Mr. Chandrasekhar, Director IMC ERTF, to take us further in the seminar. Over to you, sir. Just a minute.
Thank you, Selvi. I want to actually welcome IMC new president, Rajiv Poddar. Mr. Poddar, welcome. I know this is your first event after you took over as the president of the chamber last Friday. I have no doubt whatsoever that under your leadership, the chamber is going to touch greater heights. But for the benefit of the participants, I want to say that the association of Poddar family with the chamber is a very long one. It is decades old. I remember his father, Kante Kumar Poddar, was the president of the chamber in the early 80s, early to mid 80s, if I recall correctly. But it's a very long association. Rajiv Poddar himself, I know, is a very passionate person as far as his work is concerned. And this chamber's uniqueness, because it's more than 100 years old, is that there are several father-son combinations which who have actually been the president of the chamber. And of course, our Tanil Bhai is one of them. And of course, Shailesh, Haribhakti, Gandhi, all that. I think it's an absolutely exciting thing to have generations taking over the presidentship of the chamber. Mr. President, welcome, and I request you to deliver the welcome speech for this seminar.
Thank you for your kind words, Chandrasekhar ji. Thank you so much. Mr. Reddy, Mr. Goel, Mr. Vinay Kotak, Mr. Rishi Nathani, Mr. Somnath Chatterjee, Chandrasekhar ji, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to extend a hearty welcome to each one of you today. As Chandrasekhar ji mentioned, this is my first public event, and I'm truly delighted to be a part of it as president of IMC. The devastation caused by COVID-19 is encouraging countries to initiate bold and out-of-the-box responses. India is no exception. Agriculture is the country's savior, and it has performed rather well compared to with manufacturing and services. A series of reforms in the agri-marketing recently announced by the government are expected to transform Indian agriculture by allowing more marketing freedom for growers and buyers alike. The reforms will boost food processing, especially the SME sector. We at the IMC compliment the government for relentlessly pursuing the objective of doubling farmers' income. Amendment to the Essential Commodities Act, barrier-free trade, one nation, one agri-market, encouraging private markets in addition to APMC, and a legal framework for contract farming are some key reforms intended to benefit all shareholders in general. The measures will help revive agriculture, dairy, fishery, and allied sectors. It will greatly potential us to the Prime Minister's vision for Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant India. In my opinion, these reforms will provide an impetus for the agriculture sector, and in the long run, it will ensure India's food security and supply chain in a self-sufficient manner. Efficient implementation is crucial for the success of the reforms. It is in this background that IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, in association with MCX IPF, has organized this online seminar. As we all know, MCX is India's largest commodity futures exchange and rated among the world's leading exchanges. IMC has a special relation with MCX, and in the last 3 years, we have conducted several events together with great success. Today's experts can unravel the nuances of agri reforms and how these are going to boost the farm sector, including price risk management. I would like to thank all the speakers for consenting to be part of the event. A very special thanks to our friend, Mr. P.S. Reddy, MD and CEO of MCX. Mr. Reddy is no stranger to IMC. We had a distinguished presence He had a distinguished presence as chief guest last year also. Mr. Reddy will deliver the special address today for the benefit of all us participants. A few lines about IMC. IMC needs no introduction. It is a 113-year-old organization. Being an apex chamber, it has over 172 associate members reaching out to over 4 lakh businesses across India. This year, it's my honor and privilege to be the third generation president of IMC, and probably the only one in IMC's history to be the third, my grandfather, and my father and me. Yeah. The theme of the year we have said is reboot, reform, and research. So you reboot the business, reform the policies, and research the economy. Once again, I welcome you all to this interesting event. I'm sure it will be very enriching. Thank you, Chandrasekhar ji, and thank you, MCX, for organizing this. And thank you all for participating. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't know this is the third generation. I think it's even more exciting, even more. It shows a very long, decades-old association. Oh, wonderful. I think this is an eye-opener for me. Really, thank you. God bless. I'll now invite our friend, Dr. P.S. Reddy, MD and CEO of MCX, to give a special address.
So please unmute yourselves from your end. Reddy sir, please unmute yourselves. No. Sir, mute. You have to click on the mute button, sir. I have unmuted you, sir. Hello? No, sir, you're still unmuted from your end. Yeah. You can start now.
Okay. Let me thank at the outset the IMC, Mr. Chandrasekhar, the President, Mr. Rajiv Poddar, for inviting me to deliver this address on this August platform. Although the physical meetings would have been more, more warming than the webinars, but it's no less, and we got used to it. And this is the order of the day, and we have to accept it and live with COVID maybe for some more time. The agricultural reforms, when the Honorable Finance Minister announced, we all got excited about the kind of reforms that were brought in. And while the agricultural reforms that have been announced, especially the Essential Commodities Act amendments and contract farming, agricultural market reforms relating to wheat picking, and interstate barriers have been removed, and the IMC-MCX Act have been amended to ensure that anybody can sell anywhere, is the kind of reforms that they have issued in. But most of the time, what happens is, being a state subject, and states also have a greater degree of control on these reforms on the ground, probably the execution matters a lot. While it created a very good atmosphere, conducive atmosphere for all of us to go forward and trade in most of these agri-commodities, the most important thing is to develop the spot markets, which is very important. As Mr. Chandrasekhar has often says, that we have built an edifice called derivatives without the substructure or the foundation being not strong, and the foundation being the spot markets. For many products, there's no organized spot markets in this country, be that agriculture or non-agriculture. Now, these reforms will pave the way for developing those very spot markets and ensure that a greater participation comes from one and all, especially eliminates the middlemen, eliminates the control of APMCs, and help the farmers to get a better or remunerative prices for the produce that they make. Even the contract farming rules have also been notified. I suppose some of them have come in the press. I understand that they have been framed, and that also ensures that the farmers are not taking too much risk that is there in the agriculture. Uh, the the most important thing at this point in time for MCX is to see how these reforms get what you call on unfolded on the ground, and so that we will know the clarity as to what kind of business rules are to be framed to ensure that everyone in the value chain are secure and responsibilities are fixed on each of the agents in the chain, agents in this ecosystem. Currently, MCX is very active in products like cotton, and that is one of the flagship products for us. And mentho oil is another product where we are the only one, I would say, have trading. But some of the regulatory changes have dampened the volumes in this contract, but it has been appreciated highly by the UNCTAD as well, because it has helped disintermediation, helped the farmers in getting a better or remunerative prices for the produce. Similarly, we are also doing well in cardamom contracts, and these contracts again, due to some of these testing norms which are there, spot versus the futures market testing norms, the contract costs of trading has increased. As a result, some of them are leading to fall in the stocks that are kept in warehouses, because the Food and Safety and Standards Authority of India's the what you call quality norms have to be complied with it. That means the testing costs have gone up substantially. Earlier we had only 700 rupees per quintal. Now it has gone to almost all 10,000 rupees. Now with such kind of high costs of testing, probably it is difficult to uh, trade and deliver on the exchange platform versus the spot markets. In fact, the spot market which I visited at Vandanmedu for cardamom really inspired me, I would say, because the business it's the transactions that are taking place are very quick, and there's no bureaucratic hurdles, and all the participants in the ecosystem are very actively participating, and settlements are being done, and that is something which interests us. Probably that is the way the markets have to work. That is the way we need to organize ourselves. One important bane, again, apart from the regulatory restrictions that we have seen, of course, with these reforms, we hope that it gets relaxed. One issue that all the time plagues this market, agri markets, is the standardization. There's so many variety of products are there. For each rice, there are several varieties, wheat, several varieties. So are for other commodities. Unless we have the standardization made, probably it is difficult to have a better price benchmark in this market, and we will not be able to trade obviously in an organized market like exchanges. Multiple qualities, probably that will again fragment the liquidity if you have too many contracts with different contract specifications. So it's important for us as a country, and as a farming, we should move towards more and more standardization. And if some authority or some kind of government makes efforts to ensure that standardization is also brought in across various farming practices, probably it will help further boost the boost the agriculture business. Agriculture as a business, it's not just as a survival technique, but it is something we should see agriculture as a business. With these words, I wish everybody a happy webinar, and thanks to all of you for giving me an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy, for these wonderful words. Yes, the reforms, the recent reforms, I believe, have certainly opened up further agriculture marketing opportunities, particularly for farmers and of course for other stakeholders as well. And therefore, I believe this seminar, this webinar is absolutely timely. We will share with all the participants the nuances of the reforms and what they mean for each one of the stakeholders. For this, we have 4 absolutely top-class speakers from this ecosystem. I want to recognize the presence of Dr. S.K. Goyal, former Additional Chief Secretary, Government of Maharashtra, who's is very popular, well-known in these agri-business circles in the country. He's a much sought-after policy analyst and commentator and advisor and consultant for a number of people. We have Somnath Chatterjee from Bangalore ITC Foods, who heads the ITC Foods foods logistics and procurement, and they have very large procurement, I can assure you, of a wide range of agricultural commodities. And we have Vinay Kotak from the Kotak Commodities, and in the cotton space, everyone knows Vinay Kotak has been in this business for decades. And of course, from MCX, Rishi Nathani will talk about price risk management and what MCX has to offer. So with this, I want to start my presentation. I have a few slides to share. I'm the host is supposed to help me share screen. I have screen sharing. Selby, you need to help me.
Just a minute, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, you can.
नहीं मैं चेक करता हूँ, मेरे को थोड़ा देर दीजिए उसी के लाइसेंस में, क्योंकि आजकल क्या लॉकडाउन होने के कारण अपना ऑपरेशंस का.
What do I do now? Next. Yeah, I think I should. One second, if you don't mind.
First, open the file which you want to share.
It is open already.
Okay, then click on share screen below.
Click, but I think
And on the screen, you will find your this thing, a blank one. Yeah, just click on that.
yeah, okay. I
Okay.
think it's coming.
Yeah, just. Have you clicked on share?
Yeah, one sec, slideshow. Yeah, let me do that. Are you able to see the slide?
No. Escape, close it, stop sharing, and share it again.
Stop sharing किधर है?
आपने share किया?
One second. I did. One second. Beg your pardon. No, but where is I don't find his sharing business. I did it last time nicely, but
Yeah,
surprised.
exactly. That's what even I'm surprised, because I was there at the other end. Just click on share screen button.
One sec. Sorry, my apologies, friends, for this. Just a moment. Yeah, share. I've clicked share.
Okay, now on your screen, click on basic. On
Click on?
top, basic on top. In the share screen, your
Yeah.
basic, advanced, and files. Click on basic.
Basic किधर है?
Generally basic ही रहेगा. आपका PPT
Basic,
दिखा.
yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, basic. Perfect.
Now you can see your PPT.
No, I'm not able to see. It's not clicking.
No, your file is visible over there, which you have kept open.
Share. Okay, wait a second. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, something is coming.
Is it coming?
No, this is your Zoom screen, sir. This is your Zoom screen. Your file is on the not open. Just click on the file.
File is open now.
No, it won't open because you have shared the screen, the Zoom screen.
Okay. So
So
I should
you'll have
stop
to-
sharing first.
Yes. Stop
Okay,
sharing and then share that file.
Share screen now.
Share screen.
Yeah,
Share
okay.
screen. Select the PPT
Okay. Okay. All right.
and then share. Now it has come.
Okay.
Now click. Now click on F5 or slideshow, whatever.
The slideshow. Yeah, that's easy. All right.
Anybody?
Yeah. Okay. Friends, apologies for this delay by a couple of minutes. Thanks, LB, for this. Let me do the context setting. Primarily, agriculture in these times of COVID-19 pandemic, lockdown, and a huge loss to the economy, agriculture has been a beacon of hope. And I'm sure it's going to continue to be a beacon of hope for us. When factories are closed, jobs and income losses are absolutely palpable. Manufacturing and services are worst hit. The agriculture operations have continued. There was a slight delay sometime in April, but after that the Rabi harvest took place, and then now Kharif plantings are going on in full swing. Therefore, agriculture this year certainly will continue to be a beacon of hope for this economy. The government of India has announced a stimulus package plus a series of agriculture marketing reforms. The stimulus package includes a significant rupees 1 lakh crore agriculture infrastructure fund, which will be spent over the next 4 years. Then you have from the agri market reforms. The first reform is a amendment to the Essential Commodities Act, by which the government has kept certain specified food items out of the purview of the Essential Commodities Act. These will include rice, wheat, oilseeds and oils, pulses, etc. The Essential Commodities Act actually acted like a Damocles sword over the heads of the trade. But now with this decision to keep select specified essential commodities out of the purview of this act, I think traders can certainly breathe easy. The next reform related to freeing the markets, barrier-free trade, which means both inter-district and intra-district, interstate, intrastate trade has all the barriers have been removed. Private markets have also now been allowed in addition to our traditional APMC markets. And in the private market, there'll be more of e-trading, electronic trading. And this is a move towards one nation and one agriculture market, like our president mentioned in his opening speech. The third significant reform.
Sir, can I interfere, sir?
Yeah.
Sorry, sir, the screen is not moving.
No, one sec. No, I'm still not done with this.
Okay, fine.
The third one is contract farming, which of course has been going on more as a private enterprise all these years. But now this is formalized. There's a legal framework which will lead to a lot of disintermediation. And therefore, very quickly, let us look at the implications of this. The post-harvest marketing infrastructure. 1 lakh crore rupees is a great initiative. These monies will have to be spent or will be spent in building warehouses, silos, cold chain, grading, sorting centers, etc., in different states. Therefore, the states and the central government, state governments and central government will have to work in unison to identify projects. I think this also creates opportunity for even a chamber like the IMC and commodity exchange like the MCX to actually apply their mind and identify projects for building post-harvest marketing infrastructure in terms of silos, warehouses, etc. And therefore, these suggestions will certainly be welcomed by both state governments and the central government. The Essential Commodities Act amendment is intended to and will surely improve the marketability of the crops for the farmers. Until now, traders were very hesitant to build large stocks, and therefore farmers found it rather difficult to market their crop because of the fear of invoking the Essential Commodities Act in terms of storage restrictions, etc. With the removal of these restrictions, there'll be improved marketability of the crops for the farmers, and it will help processors, exporters, traders, and all those other stakeholders to build sufficient inventory. After all, crops are produced during a season which lasts only 1 or 2 months, the harvest time, but consumption is throughout the year and throughout the country. And therefore, somebody must hold stocks. The traders, this will help traders build inventory. But we also need to caution, have a word of caution. We need greater predictability in the manner in which the Essential Commodities Act will be invoked, because the government of India still reserved the right to invoke this law under very, very exceptional situation like a war or a famine or a drought or even an extraordinary price rise. But this is not enough. I think we need even greater predictability in terms of price movement, and therefore, while this ECA amendment is certainly welcome, the traders are likely to show a sense of caution, and they're not going to be building inventory recklessly. And therefore, I was one of the first to comment on this, that we need greater predictability when and how and why this law will be invoked against people. But from a market perspective, when stakeholders build larger stocks for themselves, the price risks also enhance to that extent. Therefore, larger stocks, greater price risks, and therefore, given this situation, hedging of the price risk becomes extremely critical. And what better platform for, say, palm oil, for cotton, than MCX, which is a fairly large futures trading platform for these two commodities. The second one is on private markets. In addition to APMC, private markets have also now been allowed to operate. There'll be enhanced marketing freedom for growers. There is no coercion or compulsion for the farmers to go only to the APMC market. They're also free to go to the private markets. So whoever delivers better price benefit to the growers, I'm sure growers will go to those markets. It may be APMC, it may be the private market. We still don't know how the competition is going to pan out and who's going to provide healthy or more remunerative prices to the growers. And the question will be obviously farmer producer companies. Will the farmer producer companies continue to go to APMC market as they have done, or will they favor the private markets? We need to wait and watch. There is always a question whether APMCs will survive. I have no doubt in my mind that the APMC markets will survive. They have their own strengths. They have their infrastructure. They will have to rediscover themselves. And I'm certain that process must have already started, given the fact that now APMC markets are going to have competition. The question is, of course, for the private market, as of now, there is no regulatory oversight. And therefore, how this is going to pan out, what kind of regulatory oversight would be put in place in future, we still don't know. And because there is no regulatory oversight, will the minimum support price scheme be enforced? Or will the private markets, would or would not enforce the minimum support price? We still don't know. And the last one on this is data capture. If there are numerous private markets, then how would the government capture data, collect data, consolidate and disseminate the data? I think it's extremely important. After all, data are the soft infrastructure, and we need the strong soft infrastructure network. Therefore, I think we need to start thinking about how best to capture data from private market, which are going to be, I'm sure, several hundreds, if not a few thousands, over the next few years. Contract farming is extremely interesting. There is now a legal framework to contract farming for the processors, for the exporters, for other stakeholders. Contract farming would be ideal if they were to engage with farmer producer companies, primarily because FPOs have their own strengths. There are 300, 400, 500 farmers who have come together and formed a company. Therefore, they will have economies of scale. And therefore, for the processor or what's called a sponsor in the government language, it would make sense to deal more and more with farmer producer companies. Now, the sponsors can also provide technical services to the groups of farmers, and therefore pricing of these technical services is something, some kind of guidelines will probably be required. But at the same time, how will the farmer producer companies strike a price deal with the sponsors? Because in my opinion, and at the IMC, we have done a number of awareness programs for farmer producer companies in the last 2 years. And we found that their market intelligence, their price outlook, their market outlook is a little weak. And therefore, I think we need agencies to deliver this market intelligence to the farmer producer company so that they will be able to strike a good deal when they enter into a contract with the sponsors, which could be processors or exporters, etc. And the next most important point is, when should the price be set for contract farming? Should the price be set before planting, after planting? Should it be during the mid period of the crop cycle? Should it be closer to the harvest time? That is, of course, highly flexible. It is between the sponsor and the groups of farmers. But I think it will also require some kind of hand-holding for the farmer to help them set the right kind of price. Forward prices on the exchange could be a good benchmark for the farmers to follow. After all, the forward prices, 2 months, 3 months, forward prices are a great indication for forward or future movement of prices. And therefore, that can become a fairly good benchmark for growers to follow. That we can also look at delivery-based forward contracts as far as contract farming is concerned. I want to talk about something, because we are discussing cotton and MCX as a contract which does very well, cotton contract. There was something called on-call contract, which was practiced until the mid-60s, when, of course, in the mid-60s, as all of us know, forward trading was banned by the government of India. But until then, there was something called on-call contract, which was quite popular amongst in the cotton trade. This is very similar to a non-transferable specific delivery forward contract, but the price is fixed after the contract is signed. You sign the contract first and fix the price later. That's the kind of flexibility that this contract provided. But at the time of signing of the contract, a premium is agreed to. For example, if I'm a processor, I want my farmer producer company to produce for me a very special type of cotton, superior cotton, then I should be willing to pay a premium. Therefore, the premium is decided in advance, but the basic price of cotton is decided based on the price at the exchange. Therefore, while the premium is agreed to for quality, the price will be decided based on the price traded in a specified futures contract in a futures exchange. Therefore, the price eventually will be that futures contract price plus the premium, and the call will be taken by the buyer which futures contract to select, etc. I think, I mean, for want of time, I'm not able to go into greater details of this contract, but this is something which I would think an institution such as MCX should, I'm willing to provide more details about this contract, but I think the stakeholders should pursue this on-call contract to be successful. Finally, I want to mention that, of course, we live in a VUCA world: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We cannot wish this away. You know how crude oil prices have behaved in the last 6 months. We know how gold prices have behaved in the last 6 months. We know how palm oil prices have been behaving, and most commodities for that matter. And our domestic market is integrating with the global market through the trade route and through the investment route. Therefore, our domestic market will certainly be subjected to international influences in addition to domestic influences, and therefore both domestic factors and external factors will continue to impact commodity prices, and therefore price risk management is extremely critical to draw reform benefits and enjoy the freedom. After all, there are different risks that a commodity faces. It could be production risk, it could be quality risk, it could be process risk, it could be trade risk, but all these risks finally converge into one factor, which is a price. And therefore, if we are able to manage that price risk, we would have indirectly managed all the underlying risks, and therefore price risk management is extremely critical. As the President pointed out, the reforms are very good, very positive, very welcome, but implementation is the key. Implementation is key to the success of the reforms. The states and the center must play ball. They must work together. But these reforms are actually marketing reforms. They are not agricultural reforms. Okay, therefore these market reforms are necessary, but it's a necessary condition for resurgence in agriculture. But these are not sufficient condition for making farming competitive. This is welcome, but a lot more needs to be done. Structural issues have to be addressed for long-term sustainability, in which stakeholder consultation will certainly help the Government of India. I think with this, I'll stop. I want to now invite our friend, Dr. S.K. Goel, a veteran in this line, to talk about agri-market reforms, price volatility, and his advice and his guidance to stakeholders. Sir. Sir,
yes,
the floor is yours.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, you'll have to stop sharing, sir.
Yes.
Chandrasekhar, sir.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm doing. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mr. Chandrasekhar, for an elaborate presentation on the reforms. And one should appreciate that the reforms started back in 2003, and there is a history of almost 17 years. And right now, everyone is talking about a great revolution in reforms just because it has come from the central government, while all previous reforms were the amendments in various acts and rules by the respective state governments in a different way. Probably that seems to be the reason for great optimism which we are seeing right now. Now I will straight away go to the topic today: in what way these reforms are going to help in price volatility and also in terms of the risk management. Now, if you look at the volatile prices, the volatility takes place especially that at different places in the same country you will find, particularly for perishable commodities, different prices. And at the same time, it is a temporal volatility when you find that at different times you have a different prices just because the crop has just now arrived or it is slightly away from the harvesting time. Now, is it going to make a difference with these reforms? Yes, it is going to, if what Mr. Chandrasekhar has pointed out, that all the related activities also take place. I always say that the rules of the game have changed, but not the players. If the players would have changed, then last 17 years history would have been different. And that is why one will have to have a different kind of a ball game where the different players also enter into the arena and they start working. So in what way we can control this price volatility? Now, Essential Commodities Act will make it possible for storage of the produce in case of surpluses without any stock limits, which was not possible previously because always there was a hanging chart that government may come up with some kind of a limits, and then the businesses were not in a position to take care of the increased availability in the market, and that is why there was a spatial and temporal volatility which now can be taken care of. So the removal of the stock limits are going to help in this matter. Now, the other reforms, the market reforms. Now, there will be a more free movement of the goods, of the commodities over time and over space. The storages will be created because this is the kind of business opportunity which I am sure the industry will take in their own hands, and it will create a kind of swift movement of commodities from one place to another. There will be larger number of market players and more number of points of sale, because it is not just the APMC where the transactions would take place. Any electronic platform, anywhere, lakhs of them can be created if it is possible to understand that yes, this is something which does not require any kind of a regulatory framework as on today. The third reforms in terms of the virtual contract farming, though the word contract has not been used, would mean that some kind of a price mechanism can always be pre-decided. The negotiations can take place, and certainly the price volatility will be a thing of the past in such cases, because both the buyers and the sellers will understand as to how the prices are going to move. So the short point is that all three reforms have a tremendous potential to take care of very volatile commodity market, particularly for perishables, where so far it has not been possible. And you have seen that the potatoes and onions have been included, and at the same time you have cereals, pulses, edible oils, and oilseeds. Now, coming to the risk management, in what way the farmer's risk and in what way the buyer's risk are going to be changed. Same thing in case of essential commodities stocks. When I have a stock and I can pledge it to a bank, or I can put it for the futures market and I can do the hedging. Since I am sure that I can stock it and the government will not going to change the rules of the game overnight, and I will be able to provide a risk mitigation strategy, because I can always see what is going to happen in the futures market, in what way I can transact the business in future. The market reforms in any case will give rise to multiple choices, and since there are multiple choices and there are service providers which will come in a big way in the market, which will connect the farmers to the market. And in such a situation where the service providers are there, they can take care of part of the production risks which are there, because they will be able to connect them to the right kind of market players. And these market players, who are they? They will be organized retailers in a big way, though they are already there, but not they still in a small number. Very large number of exporters, processors, and all those market points which are there. So the multiple choice is there, where to a certain extent takes care of my risk. The third part, in the case of contract, since the risks are distributed amongst the participant in a contract farming, that is those who are producing or growing and those who are buying. So there is a kind of possibility where one can think of minimizing the risk, whether they are the production risk or the market risk. The value chain is another important aspect which will have to be taken care of. It is not just the marketing, but the production part, which is important. Production and marketing combined together, in between a large number of horizontal and vertical integrators will have to be there. Those who will provide the vertical services and horizontal integration amongst those services, amongst between the growers and the buyers. And that will also create some opportunities for startups, the opportunities for very large number of FPOs. 10,000 FPOs are likely to come up, 7,000 are already there. And some of the announcements which have been made, 1 lakh crore fund, which is not subsidy, but it is 3% subvention on interest, which has been there. There is going to be a moratorium for 6 months to 2 years. There is going to be a guarantee fund lying with the government and also with SFAC, 10,000 crores for micro food enterprises, and a host of other announcements which have been made, which are combined together with this system, will give rise to a situation where the price volatility as well as the and minimization of the risk will really be addressed in such a manner that the farmers and all the value chain players will be at advantage. It opens up an important area for value chain finance and also for value chain insurance. Now, if these two sectors really pick up, where you are not giving rise to services only to a very small micro part of the value chain, and you are providing this service to all across the production till marketing, since such kind of a predictable rules have been framed, such kind of possibilities are there. I'm sure the logistic players will come up, the quality assessments, which MCX president just now talked about. There will be payment gateways which will be there, and all auction platforms. These combined together will take care of the entire ecosystem, where not only the rules are changed, but the players are also willing to play with the changed rules. A scenario which was not possible till now, in spite of almost 2 decades of reforms, but hopefully now this will certainly take place. I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Saab, for your elucidation. Very, very interesting. Yes, the rules have changed, but the game itself need to change. I think probably we are on course. In course of time, the game itself will change because there are newer challenges which are coming the way of Indian agriculture, land constraints, looming water shortage, climate change. I'm sure all this will be addressed as we go along. But what is important is that we are now very substantially self-sufficient and self-reliant in terms of cereals and pulses, etc., which is obviously a sugar, which is obviously a good sign. Thank you very much, and I'm sure there'll be some questions a little later. I'm now going to invite my friend Somnath Chatterjee from ITC Bangalore. Thanks for joining, and he's going to take us through the palm oil market, volatility in the palm oil market, and how do you manage that volatility.
Good evening, sir. At the outset, I'd like to start on a bit of a lighter note. I'm so grateful to these webinars nowadays since the lockdown began, because that's the only time when I actually get to wear a formal shirt and a jacket. So other than that, I'd like to start off with a couple of quotations, if I may. First one is from Lenin, and he said that there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when decades happen. In fact, we have living through one of the most interesting times. I have been in the agri-commodity space now for 28 years, and this kind of interesting period of whether you like to call it VUCA or you like to call it Black Swan event, it is ambiguous, it is very volatile, and it also presents a great learning and a great opportunity. The second quotation which I'd like to use is from attributable to Winston Churchill, although many people debate it. Apparently, during the World War II, he had a saying which said, never let a good opportunity go waste. So when the lockdown one happened for ITC Foods and for, and so congratulations to IMC. I see that there are over 100 participants now.
Yes, thank you.
So you've got a full house, right? So when this happened, we were caught completely unawares. And just to introduce my company to the participants here, we are the manufacturers of Ashirvad Atta, Bingo Chips, Sunfeast, Yippee Noodles, and the rest of it. So basically food, essential item during the lockdown. And we've been seeing that the kind of demand for our products over the last few months has seen a seminal increase. So that was one challenge. On the other hand, the challenge was that commodity markets were completely in a tailspin. So although you asked me to speak on palm oil, and I will, but may I also beg your indulgence to speak on a couple of other related mega commodities which we deal with. For instance, dairy, sugar, and wheat. So, I'll just touch upon them. I don't have too much time, 10 minutes, but I will weave it all in with the new policy changes, the new agri reforms, and where we are. Oh, sorry, I forgot potato. Potato is very big. Without potato, our bingo chips won't get made, right? So, so on palm oil, sir, the biggest volatility from, okay, now petroleum crude from 64 to 24 in a few weeks, right? Similarly on palm oil, when I was making my business plan for this calendar year, we have a budget which we make for all our products, and at what price we will buy the raw material, what price I will buy palm oil for the full year, etc. At that point of time, the market was looking extremely bullish. The market was around 3,000 ringgits, and there were experts who were talking about 3,300, right? And from there, we saw a seminal drop. We saw the market going down all the way to 1,970 ringgits. Yeah. So this is the kind of drop that we've seen in palm oil. But at the same time, we saw a great depreciation in the Indian rupee, which ate away a lot of the benefits. So you would think as a bulk buyer, I would be very happy with that fall, but the rupee also fell. So all of that did not translate into something I could hedge, right? Fortunately, in palm oil, there are very robust hedging mechanisms because of the Malaysian Bursa Index, right? I wish that MCX in India was a far more robust, and the palm oil contracts on MCX had some depth. It would make my life so much simpler. I would not have to worry about cross-currency risk. I would not have to worry about, base price risk. I would just get on with life. I would hedge, pay the premium, and get on. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the kind of depth. So I wish, and here there are gentlemen, there are people from MCX, there are policymakers. I guess there are some analysts and end users. If only we are able to make our commodity markets more robust and have some depth in it, it will help a lot. Let me give you another example, sir. And this is what happened. Everybody would have read about what happened to the dairy market. Suddenly, because of the lockdown, the entire liquid milk supply chain collapsed across the country. So it's not as if people stopped drinking milk. It's just that the milk was not getting to your homes. It took time, and I would, great companies like Amul, I don't know, they've done yeoman service to the farmers. They have stood by the consumers and the farmers and delivered. In a small way, ITC, we have a liquid milk and we have a dairy business based out of West Bengal and Bihar. And there also we saw the same thing. And overnight, there are two consumers for liquid milk packets. One is the housewife, the homes. The other is the Horeca, the out-of-home segment, the chaiwala, the dhaba, the guy who makes your tea and supplies to offices and on the tea shops. These guys all shut down. So there was this sudden drop in liquid milk consumption. We have a back-to-back tie-up with our farmers in Bengal and Bihar. And just like Amul did, we did not refuse a single liter of milk, sir. But what we did was we were able to quickly ramp up our spray dryer in Munger. It got full, so we could not spray dry anymore. We went to other dairies around and contracted with them to get the milk spray dried. And I'm sure that what we have done, will actually stand us in good stead going forward. Now, coming to another example of potato. You're right. Interestingly, till now, till this new rule was promulgated of Essential Commodities Act, all the potato which was stored in the cold stores could not actually be owned by ITC, or Pepsi for that matter. It had to remain in the name of the farmer because there was a stock limit on potato, right? Now, with this change in the rule of the game, we are now able to, and we had a huge risk there because farmer actually very rarely, unless he was a large farmer come trader who would bet his own money on the potato crop, farmers actually want to sell it off. So here I had to pay for the potato, but it never belonged to me. And you can imagine the kind of pressures I used to go through with my finance people every year. So this clears things off. So necessarily what would we do? We would get a money lender or a large trader in between who would have control over the local farmers. That fellow would give me a bank guarantee. We would give him the money and he would give it to the farmer, and it would be a long and convoluted way. Right now, makes things simpler. What does it make? The farmer comes to us, gets a fair price, and we buy it and we store it without the fear of any stock limits. Here, what you very rightly said, there needs to be visibility of pricing. There has to be a price discovery mechanism. And here again, should there be a contract of potato available on, say, MCX, won't life be so much simpler for us? Yeah. Next point, sir, I would like to go up and I would like to touch upon two MSPs. Okay. That these two MSPs are making me lose a lot of hair. One is the minimum support price, which we all know, but there is another MSP, which is the minimum selling price, which is on sugar, right? And you're talking about price risk and you're talking about volatility. You know about what is happening to both these MSPs at the moment. Tell me, what does a poor buyer like me do? So there is this rumor that the government is going to increase the price, MSP, minimum selling price of sugar. And just because of these rumors, markets have gone up. So what I'm trying to tell you in short, sir, that if there is a steadiness in government policy, people like us will be able to engage and do our main business. What is our main business? Our main business is not to trade and make money on agri-commodities. Our main business is to consume it and make finished products for the consumer. But this kind of volatility beats us all. Now, for instance, on wheat this time, the government has done a fantastic job. They picked up almost 40 million tons of wheat, 39.98 at last reckoning, and brilliant, okay? And they picked it up at MSP. But the point here is, now they suddenly realize that they've got so much wheat with them that they are having to, they're pushing files to tell the FCI to release wheat at subsidized prices. I don't know if you've heard this, but the latest rumor going around in the wheat market is that they bought it at an MSP of 1940 and they're going to give it out at OMSS, Open Market Sales Scheme, throughout the year at 1955. So all the wheat that people like us, we hedged and we bought and we stored and did all the rest of it, all of that is going into big mark-to-market losses, right? Another quick example of, say, this corn, maize, right? So last 18 months back, maize, for the first time in recorded history of India, had actually crossed the price of wheat. It had gone to 24 rupees a kilo. At that point of time, there was a great need for the Indian government to step in and lower the duty and allow some imports. Well, they did it, but they did it 18 months too late. And right now, when maize prices are trading at about 12.50, that's when the imports have been allowed. So my limited submission to this august group of bureaucrats, analysts, trading pundits is that make things a little easier for us. Give us a level playing field, give us continuity in policy, and give us a platform where we can actually physically go and hedge our price risk. So with that, sir, I hand over back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shom. And that is actually hands-on experience speaking. Very nice. But Shom, how do you look at this contract farming and the private markets? What would be the interest of ITC Foods in to deal with private markets, or would you like to enter into contract farming? Of course, you have your e-Chopal already going for you. Any thoughts on that?
So one brilliant inclusion in the contract farming law this time is the 5-year window. And I will just mention a little bit on that. So while there are the agri-annual crops, and we all know about that, and I will come to potato later, but we also do a lot of work for tissue culture, for growing fast genetically modified trees for our business, paper business. And here, this is a business which requires a gestation of 5 to 6 years. And so for the first time, a contract farming law has cognized that it can be for a longer duration. That is one. Again, another example, sir, we are, as you probably know, one of the largest manufacturers of agarbatti and matches in India. So hitherto, all the bamboo sticks for the agarbattis, for instance, were being imported. And under Atmanirbhar Bharat and all that, and we've always had a stated policy that why can't we grow bamboo in India and do it? And we've been, pushing the government. Finally, they have heard us and they've allowed us. Again, it's a long window, sir. And this new contract farming law is going to allow us to do that. It's going to allow farmers to get into cultivation of things like trees, like bamboo and palm oil. As you know, sir, until and unless, and I wish that the palm growers in India had been given plantation status as well. That's one thing which is still left. And I firmly believe that until plantation status is given to palm crop in India, I think it will not click. It has to happen. That is one of the things. As far as potato is concerned, so we had mixed experiences so far. In some states it was allowed, but the rules were all against the sponsor. Now we have a level playing field. In certain states, it was not even allowed. So we used to do something called contact farming, not contract farming, right? So now we can, put all those shenanigans to rest, and we can get down to the basic. Some companies like us and I would say my worthy competitors like PepsiCo, and I would say in this case, Balaji and Haldiram, ourselves, we are not here to cheat the farmer. In fact, we will give them a very fair price. That is what is the experience I've had. And all of us, I'm not saying that we are the better ones and the others are not. All of us, we will make sure we want the farmer to survive. We want the farmer to grow our quality of produce safely under our kind of guidance, following all the norms of agri inputs, not too much chemicals, etc. We want traceability, sir. And that is only available if we do contract farming. So I think it's a great opportunity. And I'm sure that we will be able to convert this opportunity and work directly with the farmers with an open heart and an easy mind.
Thank you, Shom. Wonderful. Thanks for this very positive. Yes, of course, I completely agree. This is a game changer. But the game will change a little slowly because people want to understand the nuances of the new reforms. Thank you once again. I'm now going to invite Vinay Kotak to talk about cotton, because cotton is one of the significant crops for commodity for MCX. Let us hear what are Vinay's views on cotton market. How does he view reforms and price volatility and risk management? Vinay, the floor is yours.
Yeah. I first of all wants to, can I start now?
Yeah.
Please.
Sebi, can I start now?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would like to thank Indian Merchants Chambers and MCX to give me an opportunity to be a speaker and express my views and suggestions. I would like to first clarify in the beginning that whatever my views, suggestions or recommendations are there are of my own and on my behalf of my company and not as any office bearer of any public organization. I'll give a special thanks. I would like to give a special thanks to Chandrasekhar ji, who is my guru, friend and a philosopher. Now, we all know that the Narendra Modi ji, our Prime Minister, has put an objective and a target of doubling farmers' income. So this is the first time since our independence, the government or the Prime Minister has given such a target. It's our duty as a nationals to help and put our efforts together for an achievement of this goal. Now I'll start with the agriculture market reforms. The first, I think the reform started right in 2014, where the farmers' produce organization were framed, the rules were framed. Now, here it is only farmers who produces are the forming an organization or a company. Here I would like to make one suggestion or a recommendation that the government should encourage the joint venture with the private organizations along with FPO, whose role could be to give a technology, supply of good seeds, help in the increasing the yield, marketing of the produce, making value additions, and working as a hedge manager. So if these two joint ventures are done, then it will be very good income for the farmers and also for the private trade. Now I will go to contract farming. Contract farming in cotton is already existing in the trade, and it is, I think, in the trade for the last 10. But unfortunately, contract farming has not been that successful, mainly on 2-3 counts. First is the contract sanity of the farmers are not that great. When the market goes up, the farm produce is sold in the market and not with the agreed partner. If there is any loss due to weather, even that is overstated. Even the yields are understated. So ultimately, the partner who is buying the entire produce is at loss. So it has not been having a so sweet experiences, and so it's not so much in vogue. But now, since the legal frames have been decided, I think it will give a confidence to the organized sector and start again participating in contract farming. Here I would like to make one suggestion or a recommendation that the government should also frame a kind of a dispute resolution through arbitration. If this is done, then all disputes are resolved very fast, and the arbitration award can be straight acted upon through court order. So this will reduce the time lag and it will give a more confidence to the participants. The second reform which is done is the free marketing. In cotton, this will really help to the farmers because it will reduce their cost. So which they have to pay huge market fees will be really saved. Now only practical problem here is that there is a huge cost for transportation. Today, if you dispatch 100 bales in a lorry, and if you dispatch seed cotton, it will be only 25 bales. So the transport cost is almost 4 times the full price periods. So it becomes quite expensive, and so therefore the interstate transactions will not be in that volume. Now regarding amendment of the Essential Commodity Act, we are really lucky. The cotton trade is out of it since 2006. The government has already removed the Essential Commodity Act for cotton, as it is considered more as a textile raw material than in agriculture. Now regarding e-trading. E-trading platforms and private sector participation in marketing cotton of farmers is a great idea. But implementation, in my opinion, is going to be a very, very difficult task. To create an infrastructure of warehouses and software programs is going to be a very time-taking, and it will also may not be very practically implementable. So my suggestion here is that there are already existing market yards which can be converted into e-markets, which can be given on a lease to the private sector, and they can perform as a private markets. So these are my views on the agriculture market reforms, and if these are taken into account, it will give a great success. Now I will go towards, and most important thing now I would like to contribute in agriculture market reforms is government must look after increasing the yield of the cotton. Today, Indian yield is 500 kg per hectare, whereas China's yield is 1200 to 1500 kg per hectare. Australian yield is 1500 to 2000 kg per hectare. And the world average is 775 kg per hectare. So government also should make a target and ensure that our yield at least reach the world average. So if that is, if we can reach world average, it will be straight 50% increase of the production in the same land, and then only farmers' income can be doubled. Just MSP increase every year may not be able to increase the farmers' income to double. So the most important thing which government should really focus is on increasing the yield in cotton. For this, I have two suggestions. One is that the pricing of the seed cotton should be free. So that should be a one price for farmers and the market price for the seed producers. And the difference has to be paid by government to the seed companies. If this is done, the seed companies will go for a very good seeds. They will invest in research, and these seeds can bring a big change in the yield. Production can be doubled. So without increment in the yield, I think for cotton farmers to double income looks really not possible. Now I would like to take on, especially on MSP operations. Can you give it a slide of slide 2? Slide 2, please. Yeah.
Yes, sir. We are just moving.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
We believe that farmers have to look after and intensify, otherwise through MSP, otherwise they will divert the crop to some other varieties. Then the cotton will not be in enough supply and we will become import dependent. But at the same time, every year if the minimum support price is going up, the cost is going up, and it becomes it distorts the market prices. So many times, most of the times, internet market is cheaper than our MSP cost. So the mills, that is consumers, also suffer, the gleaners also suffer, and the exporters also suffer. So this happens not always, but especially when the world market is down, so we do not go hand in hand. So I have few suggestions for that. First of all, farmers have to register their land details with the market yard, whether they choose e-market yard, whether they choose private market yard, or a government market yard. So they have to register the details of the land so that the quantity is fixed on which they can be maximum available MSP advantage. Then they should be allowed to sell in the auction in the market, and that price is notified by the market yards. And the difference between the slow auction price and a minimum support price, they should issue a credit slip to the farmers, and government should pay directly that difference to their bank account. Now there are Jan Dhan accounts, there are so many, all farmers have bank accounts, it's not difficult. Then also, Cotton Corporation can play a very, very important role in this system, that they can classify or certify the produce in the market yard, that which quality is justifying the parameters and specifications mentioned in minimum support price. So they should certify the MSP eligible quality and non-MSP quality, so that the government need not pay on the quality which is not up to the mark. This will also give a kind of a booster to farmers to take care of the quality, and Indian cotton will have a better values.
Vinay, I request you to conclude in 2 minutes, please.
Yeah, so this is, sir, it's too less. This is regarding the agriculture. I have finished on MSP. Now I will go on the volatility and risk management.
Okay.
So,
but very quickly.
Yeah, I'll try as fast as I can. Give me the next slide, please. Give me next slide, please. There are, in commodity business, there are 4 kinds of risk. One is capital risk, second is market risk, third is counterparty risk, and fourth is transaction risk. I'll just focus on only market risk. So next slide, please. Next slide, please. I have taken a small period of 4 months from January to April, so it has an impact pre and post COVID situation. If you see the MCX price, it has gone down by 20.75%. If you see the spot market as per Cotton Association of India's prices, it has gone down by 15%. If you take ICE, that is New York future, it has gone down by 34.5%. If you see Cotton A index, it has gone down by 26%. So what I'm trying to tell here is the volatility is huge in cotton in just 4 months. In my opinion, the volatility is brought by mainly by 2 G's. 1 G stands for government. So government policies gives a lot of volatility in the prices. Say for example, if the China puts 25% duty on US cotton, then the New York future drops heavily. Similarly, the second G stands for God. If there is any weather problem, it gives a lot of volatility. So these 2 G's are the main contributor to the volatility. Now, can I go to the next slide, please? So the only way which the trader or a value chain participant can save their capital, protect their capital, is through hedging. And MCX has provided an extraordinary platform and a great boom for hedging and taking care of the risk of the people and also the price discovery. But the problem but there is always a room for improvements. So I would make certain recommendations and suggestions. Since MCX people are here, I'm taking that liberty. First of all, if you see the open interest, I mean the delivery we should make a New York exchange and the China exchange as a role model. Hardly 0.5% of their delivery takes place. When MCX, the delivery percentage to the open interest is quite large. The MCX contract should be only a future contracts. It should be considered as future contracts or not delivery contracts, or it should not be used as a delivery exchange. That is the first thing required. Then only liquidity will increase. The main issue is increase of liquidity. If the liquidity is increased, then it will have a much bigger open interest and a lot of participants. For that, they can also have bi-monthly contract instead of a monthly contract. The next suggestion is the staple range, which is there in the contracts, should be narrowed, and there should not be any premium or discount for the same. If that is narrowed without any premium or discount, a lot of consumers will start participating. The next suggestion is the old crop delivery should be allowed in up to November with appropriate discounts, so that the hedging facilities are available in the lean season also. They should also put a special margin if the certain threshold is reached by any one party, so that the few parties do not control the market. The next suggestion is, now this is a very big problem for the exporters. The exporters want to hedge in future market, but the problem is the contract is for warehouse delivery. The sellers always quote including the cost involved up to warehouse. So they buy and hedge when they export in the market, sales in the market, they buy at the price which is warehouse price, where the settlement takes place at a spot price and not at the contract price, at the warehouse delivery price. And there is inequality, which brings straight 1 to 1.5% loss in hedging. So it becomes inefficient hedging. So that is why many of the exporters are reluctant to enter. So these are my views, which I am giving it up for consideration in the MCX. MCX is doing extremely good role. If the liquidity is increased, I think we can be one of the biggest, the exchange. You will be surprised. The ICE future contracts 100% of the crop. China contracts, exchange contracts 75% of the crop, where MCX contracts are still around 1%. So there's a huge room for improvement and big business. So
thank you, Vinay. Thank you, Vinay, for this very elaborate presentation. I'm sure MCX is taking note of all this. Wonderful. I think it's very important. But I want to make two quick.
Just last one point I want to add, which is very, very important. The BSE and MCX exchange brokers or registered company should be allowed to become hedge managers for the farmer companies or for the group of farmers. Because in India, the farmer has hardly average 2 hectares as a land. They produce hardly 5 or 10 bales per farmer. It's impossible for them to hedge. Instead of that, if they work as a hedge manager, accumulate the cotton in bulk on the MCX and buy accordingly or sell accordingly.
Right.
This will give up to the farmers for hedging their crops.
Thanks.
I'm almost over.
Thank you very much. No, Vinay, I need to stop it here at this point. There'll be a question answer session. I think you've actually exceeded your limit. My apologies. Yeah, thank you very much.
Sorry.
For being rude, but doesn't matter. I think it is okay. In fact, I have a counter question for you, but I'm going to hold back that counter question. But before I invite Rishi for his take on these reforms and volatility, I want to recognize the presence of Shri Ashish Ved, immediate past president of the chamber. I'm sure I saw his name somewhere. And of course, our Bhishma Pitamaha, Mr. Suresh Kotak. I'm sure he's also logged on. Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. This possible maybe 5:45, 5:50. I request all the speakers to kindly stay back. Yeah, 5:50. Rishi, your take.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me here. As it's a pleasure for me to be here and talk among all of you. Lot has been said, and as I'm going last, not much is left for me to say in terms of the agri reforms. But there are certain points I would definitely like to touch upon. Couple of people have talked about the MCX contracts and how they are helping and how they can be improved. So first of all, thank you for your suggestions, and we always look forward to your suggestions so that we can enhance our contracts and make them more user friendly. So I would request that whatever you have raised in this forum, definitely I've noted down, but if you can send me an email separately, then I will be able to action it further, because all the details, maybe I missed out a point or two. So request Vinay Bhai and Mr. Chatterjee that you can send me all your details, and then maybe I will try to implement them. As far as Vinay Bhai's point of having hedging only contract and not focusing on deliveries, I think that goes against the grain of what the government and the regulator want, that they want contracts to be delivery based, and that is what we are focusing on. Especially you've seen in the base metal contracts also, though this is an agri seminar, from a non-delivery contract we made it delivery based. Initially our volumes dipped, but now we are again coming up and seeing very good traction. So the idea is that India has always been a price taker. We want to create a price making scenario in India, and that can only happen through strong deliveries. The problem, as I would see, and nothing to criticize anyone, but due to the lack of liquidity, and it's a chicken and egg scenario, that due to lack of liquidity, most Indian corporates go and hedge abroad, whether it be CPO, whether it be cotton or base metals or bullion or anything for that matter, they were going and hedging abroad. And a couple of years back, when RBI barred Indian entities from hedging bullion abroad, you saw that our bullion contracts received a great boost in both in terms of volume and OI, open interest. So similarly, the need of the hour is for the government to incentivize hedging by corporates in India. If the flight of hedging abroad stops, I am sure our markets will develop very well. Why does anyone need to go abroad and hedge when they can hedge in India? See, we as an exchange are a platform. We do not control volumes. Volumes are controlled by the market participants. The more they participate, more the volumes there will be. All we can do is create a conducive environment for your participation, make sure that all the nuts and bolts are in place so that the market behaves in an orderly manner with proper risk management, and the needs of exporters, importers, buyers, sellers, hedgers, traders, speculators, arbitragers, everyone in the ecosystem is taken care of so that it is an equal level playing field for everyone. So that is the point from the exchange's view, that while we would love to see, and I agree with everyone who said that they want to see more liquidity, even I want to see more liquidity on the exchange platform. It is up to you to please increase that participation. If everyone starts increasing the participation bit by bit, I'm sure that domestic exchanges will become the centers of price discovery globally, whether it be cotton or any other product. India is the largest importer of palm oil. Why can't we determine prices? After all, we are the buyers, and the buyer calls the shot in everything. So we should be determining pricing for palm oil or cotton or gold, for that example. So another thing I would like to say is that these reforms, and everyone has already spoken about it, but I think they're a big turning point in our ecosystem. And as our MD was saying, that the structure of our commodity markets are there, but the superstructure is built upon a vacant foundation, which is the spot markets. Now, spot market reforms are the need of the hour, and the government moves are a great step in this direction. Earlier, exchange accredited warehouse did not have stock limits, but then they were brought back. Now stock limits have been removed, which is a great thing. Another thing is that sensitive commodities like pulses, potato, etc. have also been removed from those. Now there'll be chances of contracts coming in, and as the gentleman from ITC was saying that he'd love to see a potato contract, I would also love to see a potato contract on the exchange, and I hope we can very soon. So and we would love to see your participation. The idea is that we would like to grow the agri markets, and at MCX, while my designation is head of business development and marketing, I'm also looking after the agri products. So I am the guy to beat with a stick if you're not doing anything right, and I am the guy to pat on the back if we are doing something right in agri. Of course, our entire team is there. So whether you pat me on the back or not, please send me your suggestions, send me your constructive criticism so that we can improve our contracts to make it more user-friendly, to make it more relevant for the practical industry. Another thing I'd like to say, and I know we are already, everyone's overshot their time, so I will try to make myself as brief as possible so that Chandrasekhar Saab can take a few questions. Uh, the point is that in India, you always see a boom and bust cycle. And I'd like to, I have been across the country before MCX also. I was working in another commodity exchange, and I have traveled the length and breadth of this country through all the rural areas, and I have seen in various rural areas what happens. And, it is very sad that in many places, because of the APMC structure and everything, farmers are forced to, they bring their goods to the mandi. They sit all day, no one entertains them in the evening when it's time to go back. And, they don't have money to even take their produce back to their farm because they'll again have to hire a tractor trolley. So they sell at whatever price they get and go away. There's no storage facility at the mandi. And all these things, it was a need of the hour what the government has done. And rightly, the government has brought in these reforms. It'll go a long way, whether it be contract farming, whether it be abolishment of, allowing farmers to sell outside the APMC, whether it's relaxation of the Essential Commodities Act. However, while the government has kept the caveat that they can intervene if the prices move, there has to be some clarity in terms of 50% or 100% movement in prices, because we saw in the past that if the prices move, then what will happen? Suddenly overnight, will all the stocks in the warehouses, what will the status be? So that is one thing. So I definitely feel that at least exchange accredited warehouses which are accredited by WDRA should be outside the purview of all of this, and rightly so. Another thing I would like to say is that when the production happens in India, when the harvest happens, there's a lot of supply, and it's like a no-brainer that time there is demand for money and supply of goods. And what the exchange does, the exchange acts as a great breaker of bulk, because what happens is on the exchange platform, there are a lot of arbitrageurs who participate in cash and carry trades, who absorb the stock at that time and sell it in the futures. And as consumption happens, the goods, when the production happens, the goods are brought into the exchange warehouse, and over the months as consumption happens, the interest or the contango reduces and they leave the goods and consumption happens in an orderly manner. In India, where at the rural level, the cost of funds is so high, exchange ecosystem helps in reducing that cost of fund, making available easy funds to farmers, making sure that the farmers have adequate warehousing. And another thing is that most farmers, as Vinay said, that they cannot access the markets on their own. They have very fragmented land holdings. So the point is that we are working extensively with farmer produce organizations, and other exchanges are also doing it, where farmers get into collectives and get more bargaining power. They get proper grading, sorting facilities. They can package their goods in such a manner that it is of exchange specification, and then they bring it to the exchange and sell it, and they get a better price for their produce through the exchange ecosystem. So that is what an exchange is trying, not only to facilitate price hedging, but also price discovery, price risk management, deliveries, robust deliveries, benefiting the end-to-end farmer, and on the other hand, benefiting the consumer. Ideally, what an exchange is doing is removing that black hole between the farmer getting, say, 10 rupees for his produce and the consumer paying 40 rupees for the what they consume. So that is where the exchanges try and make a difference. So that is from my side. Chandrasekhar Saab, over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Rishi, for this explanation. Thanks a lot. We have a few questions, but before that, let me go back to Dr. Goyal. I'm sure, Dr. Saab, you heard all the speakers, various points of view. Is there something that you would like to add now?
Yeah,
after hearing all the speakers?
Yeah, great. The intentions are good.
Yeah.
But as I said, that the reforms started in 2003. So one should study the history of these 17 years before jumping to the conclusion that something revolutionary will happen overnight. All the players will have to start thinking in a different way, like the exporters and the processors so far might be buying the things from the traders in between. Now there is an opportunity to go directly to the farmers. This is one example. I can continue with that. For the shortage of time, I won't explain further on this. I would say that within the new rules of the game, all the players who are very comfortable with what they are doing, they will start thinking in a new way. I think that is the kind of request I would like to make on behalf of the farmers.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. Somnath, you've heard other speakers. Do you have anything more to add on this? Unmute.
Yeah. We are looking forward to greater participation in the exchanges, particularly MCX. And we were, Rishiji, we will definitely be in touch with you. And yes, there are so many agri-commodities where we could engage in, and we will take this forward.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Vinay, I have actually one question for you, or in fact, an observation based on Vinay's remarks. I agree. There may be an opportunity to privatize APMC markets. I'm not saying you privatize all the 7,000 and odd APMC markets, but there is an opportunity. Some may be privatized, or some should be privatized. I have great hope that many of the APMC markets will actually review their work and become more efficient. There's no doubt at all. But there possibly could be some which may be privatized, which is a good suggestion. The state governments, respective state government, will have to take a call on that, and that can be converted into private markets. Second, you talked about raising yields, and you talked as if it is a responsibility of the government of India to raise yields. With due respect, I must say, yes, government has a role to play, but what is the private sector doing? What are the processors, textile mills doing? What are the spinners doing? What are the exporters doing? The new contract law is very clearly intended to help these kinds of stakeholders, processors and exporters, to enter into contract farming and get the raw material, the kind of raw material that you want. Therefore, the government, yes, will have a role to play in terms of policy, etc. Seed price, for example, there should be no intervention, I agree. But a substantial part of the responsibility to produce better quality and increase yield actually rests with the private sector, is my observation. Anyway, you have anything to add, Vinay?
Yeah. Two things I want to just clarify. I might have missed in the speech.
Yeah.
First of all, what I meant is that delivery should be there in the future markets, but it should be discouraged.
Right.
That is one. And secondly, regarding your point, you see, if there is a price fixation by the government, if it is not viable, the companies would not go for research and enhancement of the good quality. That is the problem.
Right.
So at the same time, farmers cannot afford the high price. So there should be some solution in between.
Right. Absolutely. So the point is, government makes certain interventions. Those interventions have to be reduced. For example, fixing a price of the seed is one of the examples. I've commented on this extensively. I said government has no business.
Sir, Mr. Kotak, Suresh Kotak would like to comment. Can I unmute him?
Okay, all right. We'll invite him.
Yes, sir.
It's such a pleasure to hear him.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, you'll have to unmute yourselves. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Welcome, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Sir, we can hear you.
Now I would like to state. Are you able to see me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now I would like to state. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Very clearly.
Now what I personally feel that there is a little more addition which is required in the whole statement, and what Mr. Chandrasekhar told in the beginning about the on-contract, on-call, that as well as the present futures contract, the system in 1960, if I can recall, it was a conjoint system. And please understand the word, it was, Mr. Nathani, it was a conjoint system. In the conjoint system, the liquidity was taken care, liquidity and depth of market was taken care by the futures contract, and the compulsory NTSD and TSD delivery contracts which Mr. Chandrasekhar referred gave a kind of a allocation of resources of the delivery which the government wants. I have had lot of discussion with a lot of forward market commission, and somehow or other this point, if we bring into being and bring into operation, our contract will be world contract and the people will play at our door. And as a matter of fact, there is an international contract being mooted for cotton, and I have suggested that, and they have accepted the view that you need the depth delivery as well as you need both. The liquidity for market depth is equally important for hedging efficiency. So this is where I said that what Mr. Chandrasekhar says needs that way should be followed, and that is why I intervened. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think it's a big boost to the idea that we must re-examine and possibly reintroduce on-call contracts. Maybe offline, we will engage with MCX and discuss this in greater detail. We'll also take Kotak Saab's inputs, etc. on that.
Definitely. Thank you for suggestions. Thank you. We will definitely look at it.
Correct. Now I'm actually looking at the questions. There are only many observations. A lot of people are appreciating. They want all the presentation copies, which I'm sure IMC will organize at some stage.
I just want all the speakers to say yes to share their presentations.
Yes,
then
I'm okay with sharing.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Are you okay with sharing?
Vinay, sir, 1 minute. I'll just start. Yeah, Vinay, sir.
I'm fine for sharing.
Okay, sir. Okay. So I'll be putting up the video also. Fine. Thank you.
Right. So this video will be on YouTube, right, Selvi?
Yes. And we'll pass on the link.
Bilkul. Okay. And then I'm looking at all the questions. There is one question which possibly Dr. Goel can respond, or this person, Pankaj Ashish, must actually get in touch with Dr. Goel. He says we have orchards, we facilitate overseas contracting. We want to know what all more can be grown in mango orchards. Let us have ideas. My request to Pankaj Ashish will be, please engage with Dr. Goel offline. Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking at more farm income needs to be taxed. That is also a reform. I think I take that as an observation and not a question that needs to be answered. Does the seed distribution system of the government go against entrepreneurial prospect of smallholders? I'm not sure if I'm able to. Dr. Saab, Dr. Goel, are you with me?
There is
one question. If you're able, tell me, sir.
So, see, small and marginal farmers are coming together in the form of FPOs. Yeah. And then now the government has announced large number of initiatives to have the infrastructure created by them. Correct. They also have an assistance from SFAC and also Ministry of Agriculture. So the time is ripe when they can engage with the market. When they were very small and their volume was low, they were not able to do that. But now they can capture the entire value chain. I think the future is very bright.
Right, sir. Thank you very much. And there is one suggestion which says IMC should send a white paper to the government compiling these very good suggestions by speakers. Thank you very much for the advice. I'm looking at more questions, but there are all some observations and no questions really speaking. So I think it's now about 5:45. I just want to allow each one of the speakers one more round if there anything more to add? Probably just 1 minute each. Any final comments, parting comments before I hand over the mic for the vote of thanks. Yeah, please.
Yeah,
Dr.
my point is, I will just request once again the businesses to engage with the farmers.
Yes.
Their engagements have been only cosmetic. It has not been real. Now the time has come that they will have to really engage with them, not only with the farmers, producer organizations, and make them the part of the value chain.
Sir, I completely agree with you. I think this is very important. Show anything, any parting comments?
Well, in the form of a small observation to the last comment,
yeah.
there are a few corporates who are actively engaged in reaching out and working with the farmers. ITC is definitely one of them. We have a fairly large connect. Having said that, I just wanted to make another point, Chandrasekhar sir, that this is to do with state policies. Now, I'd like to very quickly give you the example of potato and what happened on potato in the state of Gujarat. 10, 12 years back, nobody would have imagined what Gujarat has done, the kind of success it has had with growing the potato. And it's of course to do with the very hardworking farmer, the entrepreneurs, but also to the fact that very good quality seeds like Lady Rosetta were introduced by ITC's subsidiary called Technico. They took on those seed varieties and they developed it. But the main point here is that they have invested in state-of-the-art Dutch technology cold stores for potato. And from a beginning of only 6 to 8 such cold stores, today there are more than 300 such modern cold stores in Gujarat. And these are mega cold stores. Each of them are PLC controlled, very well operated. And the quality of potato which they are able to store over a long period of time is extremely good. On the other hand, West Bengal and UP, West Bengal, for instance, my home state, we grow a lot of potato. Unfortunately, there is so much price volatility because probably the last cold store which was built in my state was in the 1960s. After that, there has been no investment, no development. And why not? Even today, the price of per kilo potato, the Dryington cold store which you pay in Bengal, has been frozen for the last 20 years. So, kahan se koi invest karega? Kyun invest karega? So, you know, these are things which I think we'll have to look at in conjunction with the overall central policy.
Bilkul, thanks. I think the states have a big role to play in boosting and ensuring the success of this. Thanks, Shom. I think you're so much rooted to the ground, and I thoroughly enjoyed all that you said. Vinay, any parting comments quickly in a minute or something?
Yeah, I'm just saying cottonseed oil has a very small percentage of the total edible oil consumption. Yeah. If that is encouraged, the cottonseed prices will go up, the seed cotton price will go up, farmers will have better price without MSP operation. True. And the lid cost will be good for everybody.
True. Good point. I think absolutely right. In any case, cottonseed oil is becoming increasingly popular in our country, and therefore, but there is a greater opportunity there. There's no doubt at all. Rishi, any parting comments, final points that you want to make?
Yes, I would like to say that the exchanges play a much larger role than what is seen, in the sense that the exchange price is often used as a benchmark, whether the farmer is sowing, whether there is a contract farming deal happening, whether anything is happening. It's the exchange futures price which is used as the benchmark. Like our gold price is used as a benchmark for jewelers. Similarly, exchange prices are used as a benchmark, and if corporates, traders, everyone starts participating in the domestic contracts instead of going abroad, we can have even longer dated contracts which will give even greater visibility to everyone concerned. Secondly, the options on goods which has come is a great thing for farmers, where they can buy a put and then, you know, plan their harvest and deliver if the prices go down, and not choose to deliver if the prices go up, and get that benefit also. So exchanges provide warehousing, they provide financing, they provide that breaking of bulk. So it acts as a superb shock absorber for the entire agri economy. The only point is that the kind of volume that the exchanges handle right now is minuscule compared to the entire domestic production. So that is where the market participants should step up their presence so that the exchanges can become a conduit for helping this agri ecosystem develop better.
Right. All right. Thank you very much. I think we have now concluded this round of panel discussion. From my side, I want to thank each one of the panelists for sharing their thoughts, sharing their time. And now I hand over the mic to our very respected Tanil Bhai Kilachan for a formal vote of thanks. Tanil Bhai.
Thank you very much, Chandrasekhar, and our new president, having organized such a stimulating discussion on the agricultural sector reforms and what contribution both the agency like MCX and private and corporate business can make to make these agricultural reforms a success. It's going to take time, but I think we should all target ourselves for some time period within the next 2-3 years to bring about so many of the suggestions which the speakers have made. What really I want to emphasize is the development of soft infrastructure and Dr. Reddy's suggestion of people doing contracts in India rather than abroad, because this is the only way, as MCX says, it will increase the volume and interest in the revolutioning of the price mechanism and risk mechanism. I think in particular, the revival of the on-call spot contract and deliveries, which both Suresh Bhai Kotak, Chandrasekhar and all mentioned, it was prevailing in 60s. MCX does require looking into it seriously and introducing the same. Thank you all the much to all the speakers who have given such wonderful suggestions. And as last suggested, we will try and create a white paper for the state government at least, because I think the role of the state government is now going to become increasingly more important. This is part of our series of webinars and seminars which we undertake in ERTF along with agencies like MCX, for which we are very thankful to them and their continuing support. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Good luck and God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.